Now joined on the line by Tito Ortiz to look back on his iconic career in our feature sporting icons. And I suppose, Tito, it's been a real memorable career for you, an awful lot of highs throughout your career. But if I wanted to start going back to your early childhood and growing up, was martial arts always your first love, or did you have an interest in other American sports such as American football or basketball, or was it always a martial arts wrestling route that excited you the most?
Well, I think growing up as a young kid, I always wanted to become a professional wrestler. As in, Hulk Hogan. I've always watched that guy, but I've always watched professional boxing too. I was watching guys like Muhammad Ali. And growing up as a kid, I really came from nothing, come from the streets, and been able to change my life thanks to my mom. My mom got me away from my father at the age of 13, and I just started becoming an athlete at the age of 15, my freshman year in high school, and I was wrestling. I walked into the wrestling room looking for a wrestling ring, and there was a mat. And I said, where's the ring? Where's the ring? And they laughed. It was like, no, this is a totally different sport. This is amateur wrestling. And I was addicted from that point out on. And the fighting game just came out of a pure accident. Tank Abbott, who fought in the UFC, back in UFC 6, he needed a wrestling partner. I wrestled in college at the time, and I thought I'd give it a try with him, started training with him, and then I thought I'd fight my first time, and that was May 30th, 1997. And once again, I was addicted to it, and Tito Ortiz became a star, a future star in mixed martial arts, and I can look back on it now that I've worked hard over the last 21 years to get where I am through hard work and dedication, that's for sure.
And Tito, as you said, you had a sort of an upbringing there. It was a fairly tough upbringing, and you got the name even Tito from a young age. But looking back there, doing my research, a person came to mind, Paul Herrera, and he had an influence on your career in relation to you attending college. And once you attended college, Tito, when you were 19 years old, from then it's been a real upward curve. And if you look back on that, if you hadn't gone to college at 19, do you think you would have still developed the career in UFC that you have today?
No, I don't think so, because back then, I was just getting in high school, or just getting in college, and I wanted to be a high school wrestling coach. I wanted to be a resource teacher, not to help kids who are physically disabled, the ones that are mentally disabled, that come from problem homes, from get them off the streets, have gang problems. Kind of the kids that have a problem just on the learning ability. And that's what I wanted to help out to do, is be a wrestling coach and doing that. But instead of helping 30, 40 kids in a wrestling room, I was able to help, hundreds of thousands of kids across the world, even millions.
Yeah, and Tito, your debut at UFC 13 in 1997, you were still in college when you beat All Britain by a referee stoppage, 34 seconds in the first round. What are your memories of that? You're making a debut there at UFC 13. I mean, you're only in college, you're young, you're 19, you're 20. UFC is one of those sort of sports where if you don't make an impact straight away, if you come out with, say, 5, 6 losses on the bounce, that's the end of it. So you really have to make an impression straight away. Were you nervous starting off in your first fight? Or did you have much nerves? And what was the whole build-up towards that?
Hell yeah, I was nervous. If I wasn't nervous, I'm not human, because every one of my fights, I still get nervous. But I think it's nervous of knowing that I'm ready, knowing that I want to perform. I went out there to perform. It wasn't about anything at all besides getting my hand raised. And you got to understand, the first time I fought in UFC 13, May 30th, 1997, I fought for free because I was on college scholarship, and I didn't want to lose my college scholarship by fighting in mixed martial arts, because you're using the same type of sport to get paid, and you can't do that if you want to stay an amateur. So I stayed an amateur. I fought in UFC 13 for free, and I got my hand raised, but I was very, very nervous. As I was always nervous. After I defended my world titles, I was nervous. I mean, I've had my ups and lows with the UFC, Bellator, and Golden Boy through my life that it made me the man I am today. I've really gone through some highs that no one's ever experienced, but have been some lows in my life that are the same situation, where it's really hard to know that I've gone through the highs. But I wouldn't know what the highs felt like if I never had the lows.
Yep.
So it does make me the man I am today.
Yeah, and you mentioned there at an early stage in your UFC career, Baz Rutten was a guy you sort of looked up to and idolised you, and he helped you, you said, sort of learn the ropes fairly quickly in an industry. I imagine with UFC, 'tis fairly a cutthroat sort of industry, even from a young age. Only the strong survive, I say, and the weak-minded, I'd say, don't last very long in that industry.
No, they don't. You know, there's guys that have careers in this mixed martial art industry that last maybe 2-3 years. The better ones will do 5 years. The great ones will do 10 to 15, and the ones that are legends that will never be forgot about can do it 20. Well, I finally made it to that 20-year mark, and I'm really, really happy. But I do it dedication, hard work, respect, loyalty, inspiration, just integrity. The things that I've gone through in life to make me the man I am today is the things that I've learned through mixed martial arts, through fighting, through just being a father of my 3 boys. I work really hard because I want to give them everything I never had as a kid. And I want to teach other parents these same type of things to do that for your children, because your children aren't asked to be born in this world. We want these children in this life. So you got to do it the right way. And I really, really die hard try to think that way towards my children. Because at the end of the day, all this fighting business, being a businessman, being a fighter, being, working other businesses, my number one is being a great father. Yep. I think that's really, really important. Doing the right things to be responsible for my actions and not try to blame it on other people. It's my responsibility. It's my problem. I need to take care of it. I need to be responsible for it. And it's helped me through my whole life, thanks to fighting.
Yeah, and I suppose, Tito, if I can look at some of your rivalries, and no matter what sport it is, whether it's boxing, whether it's wrestling, whether it's horse racing, whether it's Formula 1, always people are remembered by the rivalries. For every Michael Schumacher, there's a Jack Villeneuve. For every Michael Jordan, there's a Kobe Bryant. And some of your rivalries there in UFC, it started off, most prominent few that's come to mind, first of all, Ken Shamrock, a guy that you fought several times throughout your UFC career. Ken Shamrock maybe made his name first of all in wrestling and then turned to UFC. And what are your memories about your fights with Ken Shamrock, the build up to some of those fights, and maybe some of the memories after the fights? And is there a mutual respect there after a fight that you can actually go and talk and chat to a person maybe if you see them a year later on, or is there still that scent of rivalry breathing in the air?
I think it was at the time I was the UFC World Champion. Ken Shamrock just came from WWE. He fought in Pride in Japan. He was a huge name. I told Dana, give me a fight with this guy, because me and Ken Shamrock had a battle against each other because it was always the Lions Den versus Tito Ortiz. And that goes to it was a Guy Metzger and Jerry Bolander and Frank Shamrock. It was always a battle that I had against these guys. So when I was able to get the fight against Ken Shamrock, the fights got easier because I was able to understand what type of fighter he truly was. And it made it easier and easier the 3 times I fought him. The first time I fought him, I stopped him in 15 minutes. The second time I fought him, I stopped in 1 minute 45 seconds. The third time I fought him, I stopped in 2 minutes. It was just one of those things that I was building so quick as a fighter at understanding all the martial arts. He was stuck at just doing the ground grappling and the wrestling side of it, where he wouldn't really mature and grow into being a mixed martial artist by doing the stand-up, doing the kickboxing, doing everything it takes to be a world champion. And I was lucky at those points to become that thing and just working hard and stop him each and every time. But now that I see him, I see him a lot, and we're on a kosher attitude. We're cool with each other. I respect him, he respects me, and our fans respect each other.
Yeah, and Ken, you became the UFC champion in UFC 25, defeating Wanderlei Silva, and you sort of held that championship then for 3.5 sort of years, but you sort of injury sort of caught up with you then after a fight to Randy Couture, and you had back pain surgery, and you had back pain surgery in Las Vegas in 2008. And How was that? Was that a real career-defining sort of injury at the time? Did you feel that you would come back from that? And what was the whole rehabilitation process like?
Well, you really watched my career very closely and read up on me. That's really good. Yes, that is correct. In 2003, when I fought Randy Couture, I had my first back problem. I had a ruptured disc in L4 and 5, my lower back. I fought for the next 7 years until 2009 after I fought Lyoto Machida, and I lost to him. I was almost addicted to painkillers. Actually, I'll take it back. I was addicted to painkillers, and it was just making my training go by eating painkillers. I was eating like candy. And I realized this wasn't the life I wanted to do. I had to get back surgery. They did L4-5-S1, which is my 3 lowest disc in my lower back. They fused those together. I lasted about 3.5 months of being in literally felt like hell. It hurt so bad. I'd get up crying every day. It was the worst pain. I couldn't take enough pain medication to take away the pain. It was really bad. But then all of a sudden I said, enough's enough. I did my physical therapy for my lower back. And about the 6-month mark, I got better. I started getting to the gym. About the 9th month mark, I was walking. I was light jogging. And the full year mark, I fought, Forrest Griffin in a rematch, in our first fight, and ended up beating him by decision. And I was after having a back surgery. And then it just seemed like my body kept shutting down every time I trained, and I fought. I would fight injured all the time. I ended up having 3 knee surgeries, 4 neck surgeries. I reattached retina on my left eye. Of course, my back surgery. Now I sit here now with no pain, but I can tell when it's going to rain or it's going to be cold about where I live. But my surgeon was amazing, and I'm very lucky to be where I am. But it just shows that you can battle through anything and make it happen, and I'm doing it.
Yeah, and one of those other rivals there in TNA, where there was, in UFC, where there was sort of a grudge match atmosphere built up, sort of like what you get when the boxers are preparing and hyping for a fight like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, was your sort of matches there with Chuck Liddell, which drew worldwide sort of attention. And tell me, the build-up and the self-promoting of those sort of fights, is that sort of an art in its own, that you have to create that sort of atmosphere and tension there to sort of drive the fight, to publicise it the way Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier used to do?
I think that's what it's true about, is being able to sell the fight. I have to be angry at a person who I'm going to get in a ring or in a cage and throw punches and kicks and elbows and takedowns and submissions against. So I got to be angry to that person. I'm not going to like him. I'm not going to be his friend. And that's when the rivals start to build. Every time I talk trash, there's always my 3 rules I always kept to my heart. Never lie, never talk about a person's country, and no matter what, you always say the truth. And that was really, really important to me. And I could attack someone because I watch all their fighting. I watch everything they do. I try to mimic everything they do in their fights. So when I do fight them, I can react to everything that they do. But the trash talk needs to be there. I mean, one of the greatest guys of trash talk in MMA is Conor McGregor. This guy is just amazing. I respect the kid. He's amazing. He's able to do some great things for himself as a businessman and as a fighter and a father. And I respect the kid. I think he's done some great stuff. But once again, it just comes down to being able to talk the smack against the guy you're fighting, because you're going to fight him. And you want people to be interested and fall in love with them, whether they love you or they hate you. The problem is when they stop talking about you. And I've learned that from the beginning of my career of almost 22 years now. Gosh, it's scary to even say that. In May 30th this year will be 22 years, but I'm still competing, and I'm better than I felt 10 years ago when I was 30, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you, Tito, you sort of ventured there for a while down other sort of different streams. You became a guest referee in Total Non-Stop Action, Impact sort of wrestling. You're involved in the Ultimate Fighter 3 reality TV sort of a series. And I suppose, going from UFC, where we know you really can get hurt, to TNA, where it's all about putting on a show show where it's scripted as such. As a professional mindset, what was that like for you, going to atmosphere where these guys are working to choreography towards a script, where you're going out basically to try and hurt someone into submission?
I think the difference is just the entertainment side of it. Still taking the bumps, taking the falls, that stuff still hurts. But knowing who's going to win or lose, that's the difference between mixed martial arts. You don't know who's going to win or lose. And who wakes up with a smile on their face knowing that I had a great training camp. With professional wrestling, you know who's going to win or lose. But still, they take the bumps, they take the falls. It's real. You got to do it the right way. If not, you look corny. It doesn't look right. It looks completely fake. And I'm a huge fan of professional wrestling. And I've been a huge fan of mixed martial arts also. But to find the difference between both of them, I've been lucky to find the happy medium between professional wrestling and professional boxing and mixed martial arts. That's why I made the name of Tito Ortiz, and I have flames on my shoulders. Used to be able to grow my hair a little bit, so bleach blonde hair, and find that attitude, find that persona, that character that people love to hate.
Yeah, and Tito, the Ultimate Fighter 3 reality TV series, it probably led to fights with, most recently you had a rematch in UFC 66 with Chuck Liddell in November. You had matches with Ken Shamrock and all out of that Ultimate Fighter 3 reality TV series. When Dana White came to you about that sort of project, how did he go about explaining what it would be like and the whole concept of this reality TV series? And was it something you were a bit hesitant about first?
No, I wasn't hesitant about it at all, because I told him the way to make money in this sport is to educate each and every one of the fans of what mixed martial arts is truly about. When it came with the Ultimate Fighter, they were able to facilitate that. They were able to make that happen. Where the fans are able to watch and see the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the submissions, the kickboxing, the boxing, what it takes to make a fighter. That's why the Ultimate Fighter was really made to be. And they're able to figure that out and make it happen. And I think it was a positive and a plus for mixed martial arts in general of having the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, and you went in for a time with MMA and Bellator, and one of those you fought nearly everyone in the business, Tito, but one of those fights that probably got away at the time that sort of collapsed was the Quinton Jackson sort of fight, Quinton Rampage, and how close was that to coming a real possibility? Were he 99% of it there, or did you see fairly fast that it was going to be a non-runner?
It was actually 100%. It was on, it was signed, everything. I was in training. I was training with producer Verdun from the UFC, the heavyweight champion at the time, and I went to go for a shot, and he slammed me down to the mat, and my head hit the mat first, and I fractured a facet in my neck.
Okay.
One of the bones fractured in my neck, and I ended up having to get surgery where they did a PRK, where they go through my hip, they take out the bone marrow, they spin it for the regeneration that they inject in the area. They did that, injected into my neck, and the bone calcified completely where they did an x-ray and they couldn't even tell if it was broken or not before. That's what stopped the fight between me and Rampage Jackson competing against each other in Bellator.
Yeah, and basically, Tito, the whole relationship within the industry, we see it so many times in relation to these powerful figures that own these sort of companies. The 1 minute your favorite cup of tea, the next minute you're sort of down the sort of rankings. They don't want to know about you. Then sometimes they want to have you back, like Vince McMahon with the Kurt Angle sort of situation. They love him, hate him, love him again. And was the whole Dana White sort of a business for you? Is it a character role, playing this sort of role that these businessmen take on their own, these companies, that they're playing a acting role to sell a franchise even more?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head with Dana. It is an acting role to a certain extent, but you don't want to be on his bad side, I don't think. I learned that firsthand, and I learned it very well. It's not to really have a pissy boxing contests with him. And it's not the smart thing to do. But at the end of the day, I was battling the same way he was trying to battle for me when he was my manager back in 2000 against the UFC that was owned by Bob Meyerowitz. Dana was my manager, and I was with him in the meetings, and he said, Tito deserves this amount of money. If not, don't call us. And he hung the phone up, and he looked at me and goes, I hope I made the right decision. That's how I learned how to compromise or negotiate with another person. And I did that against him, and he didn't like it. And that's why we had all the back and forth of what we did with Dana.
Yeah, and Tito, you're inductee into the Hall of Fame of USC, the ninth only inductee into that. And when you look at the Hall of Fame sort of category, we have it in American football, we have it in NBA, we have it in boxing each year. It's a recognition of excellence, even the WWE Hall of Fame. And how important is it to you that, first of all, there's only probably 9 of you in there, but your name is in there, and everyone growing up will say, well, I want to be in the Hall of Fame, and Tito Ortiz is, I want my name beside Tito Ortiz.
I think, that to me is just a sign of respect that I deserve to a certain extent, but I think my fans deserve it. Because my fans are there to watch me compete. Yeah, I was the one getting in the cage, winning fights, winning world titles, losing fights, coming back and winning fights. I've had an up and down career, but it just shows my character. It shows what type of person I am. It shows what type of integrity I hold within myself. And I'm thankful them putting me in the Hall of Fame. I don't want to sound too full of myself and say I was deserved to, but to me it's about the fans. It's for the fans, and I was very thankful to be a part of it. And a lot of fighters, if they want to be in it, you got to break some records. You got to be a world champion. You got to do these things to make yourself a brand name. And a lot of them are doing it still. I see a lot of guys like Johnny Bones Jones, Conor McGregor. These guys won't be a part of the UFC Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of time. It's not when. It's just or not when they're going to happen, but it's just they're going to make it happen.
Yeah, and Tito, I'll probably leave you with this question now, and it's regards motivation going forward in sort of 2019, even if you continue to 2020 and onwards. I asked Maurice Green this sort of question, the famous US 100-meter sprinter, and I asked him, what motivation drives you to go forward when you've reached the top of the mountain? When, for example, when Maurice Green was world record holder, Olympic champion, fastest man in the world. What was motivation? He said to me when he'd go home each night, he wanted to look in the mirror and he wanted to be better than the day he was before. So each day he wanted to be better than what he was yesterday. What's Tito Ortiz twist on that? What's the motivation and the drive for Tito Ortiz going forward? You have won so many titles in UFC and MMA, Bellator, and you've gone through so many injuries throughout your career, and it's been a career well filled. Why put yourself through that? Why put you through your body might risk? You say you have a family, might risk more injuries. You have won so many titles in the past. What's the current drive and ambition for Tito Ortiz going forward?
To be an inspiration, to inspire other people to know that they can do it too. Don't matter what's your age, what's your physical legalities, just as long as you know you can do it. When people say you can't do it, get up and try until you get it done. Look in the mirror, as he says, and saying, how can I better myself tomorrow? And I do that every single day. That's kind of funny you just said that, because that's how my attitude is. I look in the mirror and I go, have you done something today to help somebody out to better themselves? Not just myself, because I know I can do it, but help somebody else too. And giving back to society has always been a person that I look up to. If you're able to give back to society in a positive manner, you're doing yourself as a human being the right way. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, and Tito, lastly, sorry about this. Have you ever been to Ireland, and what would you like to say to all of your Irish fans listening in, and what can they expect to see in Tito Ortiz in 2019? Is there going to do you hope to fight maybe 1 or 2 fights this year, and what would you say to your Irish fans that have travelled and seen some of your fights in the past?
I would say thank you very much to all my Irish fans for all the support I get from them. Is not like no other. In 2019, I would love to go to Ireland and visit there. I actually have, I think it's 7% Irish in my body from my mother's side of my grandfather. Has some Irish in me. I always wonder why I have red in my beard.
Yeah.
I do have Irish in myself. But I would love to have an opportunity to go to Ireland, see how it is there, to go back to the father's country and see how it really is. Being here in the United States, live in California, I've traveled the world. I've been to Japan and Australia and Brazil, but I've never been to Ireland, so I guess that could be a stop for me in 2019. We'll see.
Tito Ortiz, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the airways as we look back on some of the most iconic and memorable moments of your career, and no doubt there's more chapters to be untold and unfold as the years goes by. Tito, it's a pleasure, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavours.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you very much. And all my Irish fans, like I say, thank you so much for your support. I will be fighting possibly 2 times this year. And hopefully I'll be coming to Ireland for maybe a seminar and so forth, because I know there's a lot of mixed martial art fans there, but stay tuned.
Okay, Tito, thank you.
Awesome. Cheers.